Today, I have invited one of my favorite students in Chinese, Louis Labros, to talk to us about studying Chinese. Hello, Louis.
Hi, Miss.
你好吗？
非常好，谢谢你呢。
我也非常好，谢谢。Why did you choose to study Chinese?
Well, I chose to study Chinese because the reach and the opportunities you can get just from having the ability to speak Chinese is really vast. And also Chinese is so important in commerce and the business world. There's so many opportunities and job options in China. I also think coming to this school, just having the opportunity to learn Chinese is very unique. It's quite unusual to be able to learn Chinese from a young age in the UK. So I thought I better take this. I would be really silly not to do this. I just like learning languages in particular. I particularly enjoy because it's a lot of talking. And the curriculums are normally very broad in languages. You get a lot of choice in what you want to study as part of the subject.
Great. But in what aspect does Chinese interest you the most?
I think it's difficult to say. I think it's very broad, my interest in Chinese, because one of the things that really surprises me and interests me about Chinese is if I ever research stuff about China, I'll always find out something else that I didn't know before. It's just such a different culture and it's so foreign to us in the UK.
Right.
And so I think probably the culture is the most interesting aspect for me. And I think especially the gender equality I find quite interesting in China and the way that's viewed.
But you also talk about you said this is very important in commerce and the business world. And how did you find that out? Because surely in such a young age, you have not started your business, have you?
No, but my family has a business. And from a young age, my family has been dealing with China on the phone and on email.
What type of business is it?
A skincare business. It's always talk about China, or you need to send labels to China, or we need to redo these labels for China.
And is that why you wanted to help your family?
That isn't actually why originally, but I think with me continuing Chinese, that has been suggested that could be beneficial.
Have you started to help your family?
Yeah.
Right.
But quite difficult speaking Chinese to Chinese businessmen, but I gave it a go.
Well, there's always something to learn, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's good to experience speaking Chinese out of classroom setting, I think.
Talk us through what has been challenging for you in studying Chinese.
The most difficult thing for me is the character recognition, because what I find is that it's possible to recognise characters in isolation, but if it's in a comprehension or an arts course, a letter of some sort, it's very difficult to ascertain meaning. And they sort of become jumbled and I can't remember each individual one and it becomes confusing. I also think one of the things I find difficult is to appreciate the flow in Chinese. Because often when writing essays, I'll think of what I want to write in English and we'll try and write in the same style in Chinese, but it doesn't work, it's not correct. And it's sort of learning to understand how Chinese should be written, how paragraphs should be in Chinese should be written and structured. And I was going to say, I just find it, sometimes it would feel like learning Chinese that it was sort of impossible, and certain topics would be very difficult to break into, to crack and understand. And it's coping with those setbacks that you get in studying Chinese has been quite difficult.
But surely it is quite different in every language in terms of the writing. But what do you think would be a really key to improve your writing or improve recognition of characters?
Well, I know members of my class really like rewriting characters out lots. I do that before exams, but I don't know how effective that actually was for me doing it. Because the thing was then I would be able to write the character, remember how to write the character, but I still wouldn't remember what it meant or how to say it. So I would know how to write it, but just rewriting the character, it wouldn't be rewriting the meaning. And so what I found quite helpful for that was I would sort of make games
Yes.
out of characters. So I'd play pairs, like I'd print out characters on cards, pinyin on cards, and English on cards, do pairs with them, turn them over and trying to get matches. And I'd get them right. And the ones I would get wrong, I would then write them out. I found to be quite helpful.
But it seems that learning a language is a lonely road. Do you agree with it?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I think Chinese fits that much more, because I find in school from about year 12 up to year 13, there's very few people in the school who are also studying Chinese, and also living in a house where no one speaks Chinese. It's a lot of solo work. You have to do it on your own. You don't really, other than your teachers, have people you can ask for help. I mean, you can look on the internet and stuff, but I would say compared to all other languages, well, not all other languages, but European languages, there's much less information to help you study Chinese.
In that case, why did you still keep going? What made you keep going?
Very rewarding studying Chinese or studying a difficult subject. There's doing any other subject where you're not finding it very difficult, or where it's not challenging. It does sometimes feel, oh yeah, I'm just doing fine. It's sort of like you're coasting. But in Chinese, it's hard work. But the reward you get when you can write a good essay or speak some good Chinese, it means a lot more than being able to do the same in Spanish or in English. You feel like you've actually accomplished something much more.
So how do you cope with having setbacks sometimes in Chinese?
It's difficult. Different techniques, I think, for different times. But like sometimes it feels very difficult to break out of the cycle of feeling like you're struggling, and it can sort of snowball and get progressively worse and worse. And so I think certainly in beginning of year 13, I felt I wasn't doing very well. And one of the things that I think helped me get out of that cycle and start improving again was thinking about it in terms of marginal gains and thinking about it in really small terms. One of the things I was kept doing wrong was using her instead of ertier. And just by looking at that singular thing and trying to correct that, it's a short-term gain and it makes you feel like you're improving. But then applying that to larger things, so by doing the same thing to all the little errors you're doing, just handling them one at a time, takes a bit longer, but it leads to an improvement on the whole. The bigger picture improves by focusing on the small details rather than thinking, I don't know, tons of vocab, or I don't know all of this. You just think, well, okay, I'm going to learn 5 pieces of key vocab to try and use them for now.
I totally agree. I think that is, in fact, the most effective way of improving much faster, because the smallest thing that you think is smallest, as a native speaker, is not small at all. For example, the and artier, for us, that's just something you hear all the time, and that's wrong.
Yeah.
And by just fixing that, your speech sounds much more fluent, much smoother to native speakers' ears. And you said you study Spanish for A-level as well. Do you think that also helped you in learning Chinese?
I think that the way Spanish has helped me in Chinese most is that it's taught me good revision techniques. So by learning the other language, I see what works in that one, and I can then apply the same logic to Chinese. But I don't think really learning Spanish as another language has helped my Chinese in any way. I actually would say I probably find it's made it more difficult. I can occasionally get confused between the two, which seems bizarre, but it does happen. I would say that studying English has helped my Chinese, because I think by studying English it gives you a good sense of grammar and an appreciation of grammar constructions. And so then when you're studying about grammar in another language, because you wouldn't really normally study grammar in English, it sort of gives you a bit of a leg up because you already understand the things and terms you're talking about. So when you talk about passive constructions in Chinese.
Yeah, because I found whenever I was teaching grammar to you guys, you were always the first one to react, and you knew already what was the construction and what would work with this kind of construction. How come sometimes subject and object, they are in a different places than they are supposed to be when we talk about the passive construction.
Thank you.
I also noticed that you have improved a lot in speaking at year 13. What have you done to improve so quickly?
Well, I would start talking to myself in
Right.
Chinese because I think,
What are you talking to yourself about?
well, I mean, I wouldn't so much talk to myself. I would try and think in Chinese. So if I was just doing something like watching TV or just on the
Yeah.
sofa or just in
Mhm.
my room, I would
Yes.
start trying to think about things in Chinese. And instead of thinking about them in English, try and think about them in Chinese, which would be like really quite weird sometimes. Or if I was doing some work, I would try and speak about it to myself in Chinese. Coming from a non-Chinese background, I don't have family members or people I know that actually speak Chinese that I can speak to outside of school. I would say that's probably what has helped the most, because that was something I started doing in Spanish originally. I started speaking to myself in Spanish, and I thought, well, I'll try doing it in Chinese and see if it... I think it helps create character memory and structures in your mind that you can just use a bit more. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people say helps them is speaking Chinese, recording it and listening to it back. And I know other people in my class find that helpful, but
Really?
no, that's never really worked for me.
No, because we do that a lot on our course.
Yeah, but I think we do it in different ways. I was feeling we were doing it so you could see how we were actually doing the speaking outside of the classroom and that sort of thing, and how we were coping with it so if we had a speaking task we had to do on our own, we would record it so you could see how we were doing with that. But I mean, just in terms of actual revision, like speaking Chinese into my computer and then hearing it back, it wasn't something I felt that really helped progress my ability to speak Chinese. Really, to improve my speaking, I had to be conversing, you know.
Yes, have to have an audience, basically. Let's say, like, if you recap your journey of learning Chinese from the beginning, what has been the most unforgettable moments that you decided to take it further in your mind?
One of the earliest was when I was in first year, when I really first started Chinese.
Yeah.
I remember just finding it all very difficult, very like I sort of would have an idea of what was going on, but never really understanding it properly. Then I remember we were doing a sort of comprehension. It would have been very basic, obviously. But I remember reading it and actually understanding what was written in it and thinking like, oh my God, reading these symbols really quite an achievement just to be able to read this. My parents came in and was trying to read this. I had no idea what was written here. That was one of the big things for me when I was first able to read some Chinese. I also think going to China and Taiwan was amazing. And that really was like, wow, seeing all the things in Beijing and then doing the exchange in Taiwan. It's really quite amazing. And it's like, I don't think I'd properly appreciated the cultural difference before then between England and China. And I felt that was very eye-opening.
What struck you the most about in China or in Taiwan?
It's difficult to say. One of the things that I remember is that we were in a hotel in Beijing. Then there was a cleaner that had come up to clean our room, and so we offered to give them a tip. We offered them a tip, as you would do in the UK. They were almost insulted by us offering them a tip and was saying, well, that's my job. Why would you give me a tip for doing my job? But it's not one like little thing that struck me in particular. It's lots of little things. So that was an example. Or going into restaurants and seeing water tanks for fish at the beginning of the entrance to all the restaurants, thinking like, why is that every restaurant we go to? Why do they have like water features and stuff?
But do you get it now?
Yeah, I understand now. Or like having to step over the doorstep into the buildings in like the Forbidden City, the massive doorsteps to keep spirits out. It was quite, well, it seems peculiar to us, I suppose, but it's very interesting.
Yes.
And it's like quite enlightening.
Great. Awesome. All right. So final question. Do you have several advice to give students who would like to continue or start Chinese?
Certainly if you're continuing with it at a higher level, I would say try and find a topic or a subject that interests you in particular. when you're trying to improve your just general conversation or your writing, try and do it through that topic. Because I mean, I think for me, the topic I found most interesting was equality, learning about equality. And so I think then I was finding that much more interesting than the other topics, and it was something that I was actually quite interested in. Having to speak a lot about it didn't seem like such a task, and it was more enjoyable. And I think therefore that helped me improve in that topic, and therefore improve my general ability to speak Chinese. And so I think that finding something new that actually is quite interesting for you, I would say, is quite big. And also I think try and appreciate Chinese culture a bit. So try and watch some films, read books. Because I know a lot of people who want to study Chinese at university will read very sort of scholarly books that are an in-depth look at Chinese politics, or and although it works for them, I don't think that's necessary to improve your understanding of China. I think you can look at Chinese literature or Chinese film to get an appreciation of Chinese culture, and I think they're equally valid forms of doing this. And so that's probably what I would recommend, is to try and ingratiate yourself with that sort of Chinese sphere of thinking.
And get yourself into the Chinese head, get yourself.
Yeah. Oh, and learn full-word idioms, because they're very funny.
Right. You enjoy the full-word idioms.
Yeah, I think all of us enjoy the full-word idioms.
Awesome. So that's it for today. Great. I hope you have every success in your future doing Chinese.